There, Shep. Well, as you descend the escalator into the loop station, you see the Teslas waiting to whisk you into a tunnel 43 feet below ground. Now, you might think, all right, it's like a subway. But this is more like a highway underground. And because it's Las Vegas, this is also a thrill ride. The Las Vegas Convention Center loop is part thrill ride, part light and sound show, but mostly just a commute across a sprawling convention center.
If there's a show going on and you've got a lot of traffic in the convention center, it can be a 45-minute walk from one end to the other.
The loop gets you there in less than 2 minutes. Here's how it works. You enter the station and call for a Tesla.
The system operates like an Uber or a Lyft, where you have an app on your phone, you say, I'm here, I want to go there, car comes up, has an identifier on it that matches with what is on the app on your phone.
Passengers don't have to make multiple stops because there are multiple exits. You go directly to your station of choice. The convention center has 3, but plans are in the works to build a loop system citywide. I'm looking right now. I mean, there's the Ferris wheel, there's the new Sphere under construction. The stadium is out there somewhere waiting to be used. Are you saying that eventually this loop is going to connect people from the airport to downtown to the stadium and everywhere in between?
It will, and that eventually is not that far away.
Construction on this loop was completed in 2 years for a cost of less than $53 million, including the stations. It's designed to handle 4,400 people an hour with 62 cars. Right now, with drivers, but soon they'll be autonomous. And what happens in Vegas likely won't stay in Vegas.
Any place that has congestion issues needs to move people and really can't just keep expanding roadways. Is going to want to look at a system like this because it really makes a difference.
All right, hey everyone, how you going? Thanks for jumping in for another video with myself, Dom Warnaar. Really appreciate you jumping on this one. Obviously, this is about the Boring Company. So, if you don't know what the Boring Company is, this is a company that Elon Musk has started to build, basically, or to bore, not us, but to bore holes in the ground, obviously tunnels, structures, things like that, so that we can get to our destinations quicker. This all came from belief that he had that the problem with roads and the reason why we have road congestion is not because there isn't enough lanes, but because it's too 2D. So he likes the idea of a 3D road network. Obviously, you can build roads on top of each other, and you see this in New York and other major countries. But one thought that hasn't been one thing that hasn't been thought out on a major scale is tunnels, because obviously you can go much deeper than what you can go higher. Now, obviously, one of the major problems with this is that tunnels are really expensive to build. Not only that, they take a huge amount of time. I live in Melbourne myself, and at the moment they're building a tunnel. I can't remember what it's called, but it's just taking forever. I think they've been going at it for 3 or 4 years now. They're not even close to getting it done. I think it's a 10-year plan and might get dragged out to a 15-year plan. It just seems like a bit of a joke. Now, the Boring Company has been working on this tunnel. Obviously, it's not as long as the one that I'm talking about, but they've managed to complete it fairly quickly in under a year, I believe. And I don't think, they've spent huge amounts of money on it. Obviously, they've done it for a lot less than what our competitors bid for the job. Now, I think this comes down to multiple things. Obviously, you can see it's a one-lane tunnel. The tunnel doesn't look much bigger than the actual tunnel borer itself. So it's basically doing, one in, one out, which is pretty impressive. And I believe the way that it is supposed to work in the future is that you're supposed to have Teslas or other EVs be able to go through these tunnels autonomously, so without drivers. At the moment, obviously, they have drivers, and I think it's just because it's been a little bit rushed. It's not ready for autonomous driving yet, but I don't think it could be too far away, so that's really exciting. I think one of the major things that I like about this is one, and anyone who goes to this Vegas Convention Center, and if anyone knows what what this actual convention center, how many events this convention center holds, they'll realize the massive amount of people that are actually going to be going through these tunnels. Now, obviously, I can't remember the exact number, but it's 450 people an hour can go through these tunnels. And that's huge, and I'm sure more than just people that are going through the convention center are actually going to use them. And at the moment, obviously, because this was built and managed by the Boring Company, Tesla EVs are the ones that are actually going through it. So many people are actually going to get to experience what it's like to be in a Tesla, but also experience those fast speeds, because from my understanding, the drivers go fairly fast in those tunnels, to cut down travel time, and the travel time that it cuts down seems to be quite enormous, especially when you consider peak hour traffic. Not that I know what Vegas peak hour traffic is like, but according to that interview just then with the CEO of the convention center, obviously it's going to make a major difference, and enough for them to obviously spend the money on it. So that's really exciting, and it obviously gives Tesla a chance to test out its autonomous software or developments. So that's really exciting. I think it looks really cool. Yes, a lot of people have bagged it out for not being futuristic enough. I don't know what people were expecting, like a Hyperloop or something like that, whether they expected it to be autonomous from the start. I kind of did a little bit, to be honest, but I wasn't expecting a Hyperloop as such. I would really love to see a Hyperloop come to fruition, but obviously the Boring Company's not chasing that at the moment. Maybe they are and we don't know about it. But yeah, it'd be exciting to see things going a little bit quicker, and just to see something like a little bit revolutionary again. But I think everyone has really high expectations for anything that Elon does anymore, and doing things that are basic, like a tunnel. People find it a little bit boring, but that's in the name, isn't it? So I really appreciate you for jumping on this video. I just want to check out the Boring Company's website and basically what they've said about the loop itself. So as we can see here, we've got this is on the Boring Company's website, and they talk about the loop, and they've obviously got some really cool images of it and how it works. I watched a video earlier, somebody called it the Rainbow Tunnel, which was interesting. And I do believe this tunnel was supposed to get finished before a tech event was about to go on, but the tech event has been postponed until later in the year. So the next convention that he's on is a concrete convention. I don't know if that's already happened or not. It'll be interesting to see how that goes and to see the reactions, and I can't wait to see all the live videos that come out of it. Obviously, this is a little bit different to the original tunnel that they did in LA as a test, which was where Tesla drives in and it parks on tracks, and then you go through, and obviously you'd have to have your own EV. The downside of that, and I can see why they've changed it a little bit, is obviously you need to have an EV to go through it. Main reason being is because these tunnels are not, they don't have, what would you call it, they don't have the climate control technology that's in normal tunnels that basically sucks out all of those fumes, nasty fumes that come from traditional ICE vehicles, and which is another reason why they're allowed to make these tunnels so small. The Boring Company is obviously bidding in multiple cities to try and do the same thing. I'm excited to see how this goes. I think it looks really cool. Not really sure about the whole rainbow effect. I think that would make me a little bit dizzy. But obviously they've made it look really elegant. It's really looks really cool. It's obviously creating a bit of exposure around it. Yes, some people are bagging it out, but I mean, I'd like to try it out for myself. It looks interesting. And at the end of the day, all it has to do is serve a purpose and solve a problem. And if it does that, then it's done its job, right? Now, Loop is an all-electric, zero-emissions, high-speed, underground public transportation system where passengers are transported to their destination with no intermediate stops, also known as Teslas in tunnels. So basically from that paragraph there, I'm getting the summary that the tunnel that you actually enter goes to one single destination because there's not any stops in between, or maybe the cars are timed in a certain way that they overtake one that's maybe stopping at another station. Obviously, at the moment, this is just an A to B tunnel network system. Distinction from subway. Loop is an express public transportation system that resembles an underground highway more than a subway system. So it'll be interesting to see when they have multiple stops. Are they going to have on and off ramps and things like that? If a subway line had 100 stops, a train would typically stop at each station, so the trip would stop between stop 1 and stop 100 would be long, obviously, evidently. In contrast, Loop passengers travel directly to their destination anywhere between one stop to 100 to stop 100 without stopping at the intermediate stations. Also, the express system allow loop vehicles to travel faster than conventional subway cars, 150 miles per hour versus 65 miles per hour, which is huge. And obviously this is a video here of someone going through a loop here. You wouldn't want to be very claustrophobic, would you? Definitely doesn't look like there's much room for error. Obviously, it's got the strong single lines there, and that would be for that not the EV technology, sorry. That would be for the autonomous technology. I dare say that this car can already do autonomously go through here. I just don't know. Maybe they don't have the confidence that it's not going to have any errors yet. Although I have seen, and we did do a reaction video on somebody who is testing out the latest version of full self-driving on the Tesla, did have some issues in an underground car park, which did have single lines, but it'd be interesting to see what this looks like. So obviously it goes up. Where does it go up to here? Entry. So this is a station above here. Very cool. I like it anyway. I think it's really, it's not super revolutionary. It is pretty basic, but hey, if it works, awesome. And I think it's going to bring a hell of a lot of interest in Tesla as well. Which would be really cool. And it creates a bit of exposure for the Boring Company, because I think the Boring Companies are, well, obviously they're a legitimate company, but I think they've got a lot of potential, and I'm excited to see. Capacity, loop passenger capacity is a function of the quantity of tunnels, quantity of stations, and the size of stations. So obviously each tunnel is one line, so they would create maybe multiple lines per station and multiple stations. The quantity of operating vehicles, obviously. The LVCC, so that's a Las Vegas Convention Center loop, system is designed for 4,400 passengers per hour. So I thought it was 450. So that's a hell of a lot more than I thought, with 3 large stations. So I think they've only got the 2 stations, A and B. While the Vegas loop is targeting 51,000 passengers per hour. So 4,400. The Vegas loop is targeting 51,000 passengers per hour with 43 size stations. So is this must be a an expansion. That's exciting. That's cool. So you got to think about that. That's 4,400 passengers per hour. That's a lot of people. So uncongested entry and exit. Unlike a subway, there is no practical upper limit to the number of stations that can be built along the tunnel route, because the stations can be as small as 2 parking spaces. Since the stations require such a small footprint, they can easily be integrated in busy city centres, parking garages, and residential commutes. These high-density stations will distribute AV and foot traffic across many access points, providing more convenient entry and exit locations and reducing congestion in populated areas if needed. So this is great. So basically what they're saying is they can build like 90% of these tunnels. Obviously the stations, they have to obviously acquire the land and things like that, but they're not closing roads. They're not, there's no huge safety. There's no major safety issues while building it to the public or to its workers, because it's pretty straightforward, right? It's build a station, connect that station through a loop, right, which is mostly used by a machine. So it's really exciting how quickly they can put these out, and then obviously they can save a lot of money in these things, so that they can produce these tunnels at a very low cost of entry. What would be interesting would be to see if they can actually get this 51,000. What was it? 51,000 per hour. Where did we read that before? See, 51 passengers per hour. So 4,000. So 51,000 passengers per hour. I'd be interested to know how many people actually use the current train system or the current transportation system in that area. And if this is more efficient, it costs less, why do we need trains anymore? That'd be a really interesting debate. Loop safety. Okay, the Tesla Model S3, X, and Y have achieved NHTSA's top rating for 5 years. This is a safety rating and the lowest probability of injury amongst all vehicles tested. Loop has no internal touch hazards, obviously. 600 volt, third rail, enabling safe evacuation, minimizing potential fire sources, eliminating any dangerous effects of unlikely water intrusion. Teslas can safely handle some rain. Teslas can safely handle some rain. I would assume they can handle all rain, just not flood waters. In the unlikely case that a fire does occur, the tunnel's redundant bidirectional ventilation system will remove the smoke to allow passengers to safely evacuate. Okay, cool. More loop safety. The loop tunnels are outfitted with emergency exits, fire detection systems, fire suppression systems, and okay, cool. Blah 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 blah. Loop tunnels. I'll put this in the description if you actually want to read through it yourself. Earthquakes. This would be interesting because obviously when anyone thinks about tunnels, they think, oh, earthquakes, right? When designed properly, tunnels are some of the safest places to be during an earthquake. From a structural safety standpoint, the tunnel moves uniformly with the ground, in contrast with low surface structures react to earthquakes. Additionally, large amount of earthquake damage is caused by falling debris, which obviously couldn't happen inside of a tunnel unless the tunnel collapsed for some reason, but what they're saying is that it would move with the earth, so there'd be no issue of that happening. COVID-19 safety. I don't even think we have to read that one. It makes sense, right? You're getting in your own vehicle. You're not in with multiple hundreds of people. Loop vehicles carry small numbers of passengers, blah, blah, blah. So we know exactly what that's about. So I'm actually really excited to see how it goes, what actually happens with it. And I'm excited to see what everyone's actual experience is when they actually start to use it. Are people going to be begging for more? Are people going to be like, wow, I wish I had this in my city? Obviously, Vegas Convention Center, I think, is actually one of the smartest places to do it. Because one, a lot of people that go to convention centers, they're the ones who can afford to invest in a company like the Boring Company, right? Or they're the ones that, are potentially connected to the people that are making decisions in council or in state governments to decide whether these tunnels are going to be built by another company, by a Boring Company, and which designs they're actually going to go for. So I think it's really smart from the Boring Company. I think it's going to obviously work out very well for Tesla as well, and Elon Musk's multiple companies that he's got. I'm really excited to see how it goes. I would love to test this out myself. If I ever go over there, I will. I'd love to see something like that here as well. And one thing that I think a lot of people don't think about is, but we do talk about it a lot, is basically bringing people out of the cities. And I think the only way we're actually going to ever achieve that is if there is a fast way to get from out to the city into the city for work, right? I think workplaces are going to be in the city for a long time. Obviously, trade happens there. Makes sense, right? You need to work close to where all the operations are actually going down. And one way that you can, get people to buy real estate or to start to build outside of the cities and have that more regional approach is if you have a fast network like what the Boring Company is trying to make. So really excited by it. Thanks for watching this video. If you do want to invest in Tesla or any company like that, I do have a link in the description for eToro. eToro is a trading platform or app where you can trade stocks for 0% commission. Obviously make your own financial decisions, do some research first. I'm not a financial advisor, but I really thank you for watching the video and I hope you've appreciated it. Can't wait to see you for the next one.